I am not in business to get rich. I'm not really interested in driving a fancy car or any of that materialistic bollocks. I'm in business because I want freedom. I want to give people around me the life that they deserve. And I want to live life on my own terms. And if you've got an ADHD type brain, chances are you feel exactly the same way. Because here's what I've noticed about working very closely with ADHD type entrepreneurs. We're not typically motivated by money for money's sake. We're more emotionally driven. And I don't by any means mean that in a bad way. What I mean is that we're often building businesses for more than just the accumulation of wealth. We want to be able to take our missus on a 3-week road trip without the business falling apart. We want to be able to help our sister with a house deposit if she needs it. We want to be able to visit our mum without feeling guilty about taking time off. That's what actually matters to people like us. And there is absolutely no shame in that. But here's what was driving me absolutely mental for years, and I see it all of the time with my clients too. I was following advice from people who were building completely different businesses to what I actually wanted. And then I was getting frustrated when I wasn't seeing the results that they were getting, which when you actually step back and take a second to think about it, makes absolutely no fucking sense at all. Right? But at the time I couldn't see it. I was stuck in this cycle of working 18-hour days, staying up until 1 a.m. trying to finish work, and then waking up at 5 a.m. to create content. All the while my business was making money, but pretty inconsistently. Some months were great, other months were squeaky bum time. And no matter how much I tried, I just couldn't seem to compound my efforts. Because everything that I built up would start to collapse whenever I took my foot off the gas. And the whole time I'm sat there thinking, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this working for me? I'm following all of the advice. I'm doing everything they say that I should do. And then I remember listening to Alex Hormozi on one of his podcast appearances. And he was talking about how his business and life looked at the time. And I remember vividly sat there thinking, that sounds fucking miserable. Now look, we all know that Alex Hormozi is an immense operator. I have a huge amount of respect for what he's built. But when he's describing his day-to-day, his business model, his relationship with his wife, what his life actually looks like behind the curtain, I can say with absolute certainty, I do not want that. And that's when I really had to take a step back and think about why was it that I was treating everything that that man said as gospel, when I actually didn't even want the life that he lived. Why was I trying so desperately hard to replicate what he had built when his version of success looked like my version of prison? Now, there's no shame in admitting that. And the quicker you're able to admit it yourself, the quicker you're then able to find somebody that is more aligned to what it is that you're trying to build and seek advice or guidance from them too. Because at the end of the day, here's what was happening for me. I was religiously following the advice from someone who has a different set of values to me, a different brain type to me, and building a completely different business model to what I actually wanted to build. That is a 3-way mismatch. No wonder I was fucking struggling. Now, let me quickly break down what I mean by the 3-way mismatch, because understanding this fundamentally changed so much for me. First, let's talk about different values. Alex wants to build an empire. He wants to scale. He wants massive teams. And he's optimizing for growth at all costs. Whereas me, I want freedom. I want to give to the people around me. And that's in time, energy, and resources. I want autonomy over my time. Now, as I'm sure you can see, those are fundamentally different value systems, which means that the decisions that we make should be completely different. Second, we've got different brains. He has a very different brain to me. And I can tell that by just looking at how he operates and what he talks about. It's very clear that he can handle rigid schedules, traditional time management, batching tasks for hours at a time. Whereas I've got an ADHD type brain that operates completely differently. And when I try to force myself into his execution systems, which I did for years, everything feels incredibly difficult and slowly starts to collapse. And then number 3, different business models. And this is a big one that I've not seen anyone really talk about. A freedom first business is fundamentally completely different to a corporate enterprise. Let me explain what I mean quickly. When you're building a corporate enterprise, you're optimizing for maximum growth. You're often building to sell. You're creating systems all of the time that can scale to 50 or 100 plus people. And the way that it's set up is that you're going to spend a huge portion of your time sacrificing time, freedom, energy, resources for the opportunity to have this big sale later in life. Whereas let's compare that to a freedom first business. In this business model, you are optimizing for maximum freedom. You might be building to live, not necessarily to sell. You're often creating systems that work with a small, lean team, or maybe just you. And you're likely not willing to sacrifice a huge portion of your life for some theoretical exit later in life that might not ever happen. As I'm sure you can see, these are completely different models, which means the systems, the structure, the decisions that you need to make are also going to be completely different. But nobody tells you this. So you're sat there trying to build a freedom first business using advice from people that are building corporate enterprises. And then you're wondering why everything feels so chaotic, why you're struggling to get traction, why your hard work isn't compounding, and why you wake up every day feeling exhausted and misaligned. And the truth is, that is exactly where I was, which all came to a head on Christmas Eve. I was sat there looking at another year of working my absolute arse off, another year of inconsistent results, and another year of feeling like I'd let those around me down. I remember my mum asking when I was going to come up to visit her, and I kind of flippantly just said soon, But really, I was scared to take any time off. For a long period of time, I had become miserable to be around because it felt like nothing I was trying was working and my business was sucking the life and soul out of me. And in that moment, on this Christmas Eve, I realized something. I needed to not only make a commitment to my business, but to myself. I had to stop forcing my ADHD type brain into systems that were designed for somebody else. I had to stop following advice from people who were building something that I didn't even want. I had to build around how my brain actually works, for the business model that I actually want, aligned with the values that I actually have. So that is what I did. I built 2 systems. And that is it. Just 2 core systems that work for ADHD type brains that are looking to build a freedom first business. The first is the straight line business model. And this is your business structure that is designed specifically for freedom first businesses rather than these corporate enterprises. It removes the complexity, removes the chaos, it gives you a clear path from where you are right now to where you want to be with the lifestyle that you've envisioned, without 17 different revenue streams or offers, without you constantly having to pivot, try out new strategies, and without building something that requires 80 hours a week for you to maintain. It's designed for lifestyle businesses that give you freedom, not trap you in a bigger, shinier cage. The second is Hunter OS, and this is your personal execution system built specifically for how ADHD type brains actually operate. Because here's the thing, neurotypical brains can very easily stick to the productivity guru's advice of rigid time management. They can easily follow schedules. They can organize everything in their mind, and that works for them. But our brains, they can't do that. Or rather they can, for a very short period of time before it then starts to collapse and everything falls back into chaos. So Hunter OS works with your wiring rather than against it. And it's designed for people who want freedom and autonomy, not for people who want to grind for 18 hours a day and wear that like a badge of honor as they build their empire. And for me, once I had those 2 systems in place, so much in my life changed. And to give you a little insight, this year, for example, I was able to take my missus on a 3-week road trip around America. It was literally a once in a lifetime experience. And I could do it because my business didn't collapse if I took 3 weeks away. I was able to give my sister money for a house deposit because she needed it. And that moment right there, that is why I'm in business. Not to buy a Rolex, not to drive a fancy car, not to build some massive empire that deep down I don't even fucking want, but it's to be able to show up for the people that I love, to have freedom over my time, to live life on my terms. And I'd much rather spend my money giving my sister a house deposit than buying that fancy car. I'd rather take my missus on a dream holiday than buy a collection of watches, because that is what is actually important for people like us. So if you're working your ass off right now and your business isn't growing at the same rate as your efforts, if you feel like you're constantly letting the people down that you're doing this for, I need you to ask yourself this question. Are you following the advice from people who have different values, different brains, and are building different businesses to the model that you actually want? Because if the answer is yes, that is why it's not working. It's not because your brain is broken. It's not because you're not working hard enough. It's because you're trying to build someone else's version of success using systems designed for someone else's brain. And there is no shame in admitting that you want something different. There's no shame in saying, actually, I don't want to build an empire. I want total freedom. And the quicker you're able to admit that to yourself, the quicker you're going to be able to find the people that are also aligned to those values, to that model, and to what you're trying to build. And then you can start making decisions that are aligned to your values, to the life you want, and to how your brain actually works. Now, there's also another problem that I constantly see with ADHD type brains. And if we don't solve this problem, no matter how aligned you are, nothing's gonna matter. And over the last 2 years, I've created a consistent habit that has completely avoided this scenario for myself. So if you wanna steal it and use it for yourself, just click this video here and I'll walk you through it.